to me, the important part of the story, we've just heard it, and we've heard it earlier from Shane and from others. I think the value, the worth of social farming, one can say, how do you price it? But we are pricing it. We have tried to estimate the cost. We have calculated the costs, and I'll explain briefly what it is. But please be aware that the report, we're hoping to have it for lunchtime and make it available to everyone. It was still on print yesterday morning, so it was to be delivered today for lunchtime. Just before I share this with you, and I'm not holding back information here, I just want to comment one thing on Aoibhín's presentation. I occasionally wear the hat of a researcher, and as researchers we try to be objective, we try to look for evidence, we look at things like bias. And I was saying to myself, have we applied these things to this work? And I'm absolutely sure we have. What you heard there is not a sell. This is not a promotion of an activity. What you've heard there is the reality. It's evidenced. We're presenting the facts, no more than that. You take the evidence yourself and you translate it into the meaning you want to take. The cost of this, of the delivery of the social farming services were based on work with the 20 farmers and capturing the details of what was spent, how much time was spent, and I put this up. This is the report which is coming, okay, so to show you that it exists. And basically we've outlined in the report some background, how we put the figures together, what the costings were, and we've compared it on the basis of information that is publicly available to comparable costs in the services. So we took the logbooks, as Aoibhín talked about. We interviewed farmers, participants and their supporters, particularly with respect to the benefits and challenges. And we also, in April, done quite a detailed survey with the farmers to calculate the costs and the time. So we went back to the logbooks, the farmers went back to the logbooks, checked the time, checked what was invested, checked what was spent. So it was pretty detailed in what happened. We looked at two aspects of this. We looked at what we call core costs, so the running costs, the costs which were out-of-pocket expenses, day-to-day running costs. And please, these are detailed in the report which you will have available to you. And these were material costs like consumables, utilities, light, heat, etc., insurance costs, light refreshments, teas and coffees, and all the nice things that we saw in the images, and other small miscellaneous costs. And we had two different costs calculated. For the farmers in Northern Ireland, it was just over €14. For those in South, it was almost €11. And please, I'm using euros because that's the currency that we are applying within the project. It's no disrespect to sterling in the north. As a matter of fact, I highly respect sterling. But it's the working currency of the project. But there is a big range involved, and the range is between, and these are just on the core costs. The range is between €4 and €24 per service, and that's per service user per day. So we've divided the cost, breaking it down per person per day. So it's quite a wide range, and that reflects the diversity of services which were delivered. I talked about 1,600 days, 1,600 personal experiences of social farming. Different farms offering different activities, different ways of offering the service, and that needs to be kept in mind. These were not 20 farms which were offering a very standardised set of activities which could be very clearly costed within a narrower band. So we have a very wide range of activities. So we're taking averages here, and we're careful in presenting it. Labour time invested into it was quite easy to calculate. That people were looked at planning for the visits, the visit time itself, and any follow-up on the visit. And it ended up being estimated at about just over 4 hours per person, per service user per day. And we applied a notional labour cost And the cost that we applied in this case was we used costs available in the NHS service and the HSE for healthcare and care assistant pay scales. It's a cost which we felt, from the project point of view, it allows us to cost labour into the project itself. So the average labour cost per service user per day is calculated as €51 in Northern Ireland and €58 in the Republic of Ireland. So it varies because of the actual rate of the pay scales involved. When you put them together, what the bottom line figures look like, and again the report will give you a lot more detail behind it. We had a cost estimate or calculated at about €66 per person per day in Northern Ireland and €69 in the south. When we compared it to the information which is publicly available, we found that the National Federation of Voluntary Bodies in Ireland, daycare services, the estimate that they are using is €81 per person per day. The Department of Health, in their value for money and policy review of disability services, and this was actually worked down from the original figures, was about €58 per person per day for minimum, low and moderate support services. Within Northern Ireland, when we looked at the available data, we found that about £72 or €87 per person per day was the cost indicated, the current average daycare cost in Northern Ireland as documented from the health trusts. And the Centre for Independent Living had a very similar figure, £72 per person per day, €86. And when we looked outside of our working region, we said, look, let's contextualise it in a European context. We looked across, and in England, a recent piece of work, and we're joined by Gaynor Tate, who was involved in this work, showed that the cost of service delivery was about 57.6 or €58 per person per day, or £48 sterling. And the average payment per client in the Netherlands, and social farming is practiced in the Netherlands, and we'll hear in Italy and in other countries of Europe, was €77 per day for those on their own personal budgets, and €50 per day for those whose contracts are through care institutions. So what does it mean? And this is the last slide. The SoFAB project, the pilot farms experience, and we're just telling the story, we're not making judgments here, show that social farming can be delivered on farms in both the north and in the south at a rate that is cost effective when compared to costs of existing daycare services. So on that point, I think it's appropriate that we stop, and if it's okay with Roy, maybe I can smell the coffee, I don't know about you. Right. Okay?